This episode of Warden's Watch, we are with Lieutenant William Boudreau, who is in charge of the state K-9 division. And before we start getting into this interview, I just want to, we're going to dedicate this to Bill's dog that has passed away, unfortunately, Ruby. So this whole podcast is dedicated to it. But in turn, I am a 4-H dog club leader. And with this coronavirus going on, Bill, it's been kind of crazy. So we're doing different things online. And one of the things that the 4-H leaders have charged me to do with my podcast is come up with some kind of canine dog podcast that kids can listen to and get something out. So knowing my connections to New Hampshire, Fish and Game, and the Northwoods Law Dogs, I think that they were targeting me for a specific reason to talk to you so they could get a feel for the Northwoods Law K-9s. And I'm hoping that's what we're going to do. So hey, we'll start with you with your dog Ruby. What a great dog she was. And your whole career using her, training her, and then developing into the leader of the K-9 team, which is pretty awesome. And I watched that in my tenure too. So, that's been a great program. So thank you for joining us, and I appreciate it. So, so how long have you been a K-9 officer?
So I've been a K-9 officer for about 9 years now. I got Ruby when she was a year old. I went with Mark Hensel, who was kind of the founder of our current modern day K-9 program at Fish and Game. We went and picked her from a litter over in Maine, and Mark Hensel put us through the whole initial training, which was about 400 hours of training that we did right off the bat. Ruby was a year old when I got her, so she was, she wasn't a puppy. Lucky for me, I got to miss all the puppy stuff. The chewing things, the going to the bathroom in the house, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But at a year old, I could jump right into the training, and we got certified right away. And I did it for about 8 years until she passed away this fall. She got pretty sick, and we weren't able to get her any better, and had to make that tough choice, which was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, you bring up a few points there that, Mark Hensel went down to Florida and get traded as a K-9 trainer and brought that back to New Hampshire and started this program. And certainly my hat's off to him, because he was a very dedicated officer, especially for this program. I mean, yes, he was did a great job at starting this and, leaving a legacy of you guys performing at the standard that he set. So that's impressive.
He was extremely dedicated to it, extremely knowledgeable. And like you said, he went down to Florida. Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission has one of the premier K-9 training programs down there. So Mark went down there, came back, and myself and Ruby and Bob Mancini and Ruger went through the training with Mark. So we both came out, trained K-9 handlers under the training of Mark Hensel. So he certainly knew his stuff, and he definitely got us on the right path. And now we have 3 dogs and for Fish and Game, and we're hoping to get a 4th here actually the end of this summer, early fall.
Nice. That's great. That's great. And when you talk about getting a dog at a year old, I started training dogs, in 4-H when I was probably 14, I think. So the same age as my son, and he sees all my trophies and all my ribbons hanging on the wall, and that's kind of what got him into the 4-H dog program. So we started training and showing last year, and Andrew did extremely well with his dog. And of course, I've always had German Shepherds, and you get kind of used to your breeds and stuff. Right. And he had to have a German wire hair pointer, and I was like, and I got to remember it's his dog and not mine. So yeah. And, in in training, there's certain kind of thoughts you have. A year-old dog is great because, like you said, you can jump in training, and then there's the thought of, as they're puppies, they bond more and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm in for the year training. I can skip that puppy phase too. Maybe it's me. I could have skipped the baby phase with my son too. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat.
So all the female 4-H dog leaders are going to kill me at this point. So.
Yeah.
So anyways, but that's the theory. I mean, a lot of people say, at a year old, let the puppy be a puppy until a year and then start training. And
Yep.
then the other theory is, start working them as a puppy and through up, so you have that foundational stuff. But they don't really start learning until about a year, do they?
Yeah, I mean, we've done both now. With Ruby, she was about a year old, so she came with some obedience and that kind of thing, but nothing as far as what we eventually get certified in. And then our two newest dogs, Cora and Moxie, we both of those dogs, the department and their handlers picked up when they were months old, or weeks old. So um, we've done both. I mean, we started training Cora and Moxie when they were little tiny puppies. They were doing 100-yard tracks through the woods. So it's actually worked out both ways. Some people prefer one way or the other, but we've done it both in our K-9 program, and both ways have worked out well, luckily for us.
So
So
you don't see a real difference.
no, I haven't seen a difference. I think you know, I think Ruby picked it up quicker because she was a year older, but you also had that whole time to work with the handler, because the dog picks it up quicker than the handler. It's the handler who needs all the training and the practice, for the most part. Obviously, you got to teach the dog what they're doing, but once they get it, it's the handler that needs the work and the practice reading the dog, and so he knows what the dog is trying to tell the handler.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always found through training dogs and I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but females have a tendency to read dogs better. And I think it's that they just can read emotions better and have that connection a little bit better. And I've noticed that females have a tendency to be better trainers or better connected to their dog. But that's just what I've noticed, and maybe you haven't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I haven't been doing this, altogether that long. When I compare myself to like Mark Hensel, he was on his second dog. There's handlers out there that are on their second, third dog, at other agencies. So I still feel like I'm new to this. I didn't have a dog growing up,
Mm.
so I had to kind of learn everything, how to not only do the mission that we need to do, but also just the owning a dog, and learning how to take care of a dog and all that. So I was definitely completely yellow to it all, knew nothing, and luckily I had Mark Hensel to help me out and get us on the right path, and get certified. And Ruby and I made all kinds of good cases, and so now I kind of help teach some of our newer guys, and we're hoping to get Ken St. Pierre on, like I said, with a dog this end of this summer, early fall. So he'll be our fourth dog for Fish and Game, which has been our goal for a while. We haven't been able to get there, but knock on wood, it's going to happen this fall. We'll have
Awesome.
four dogs spread around the state. They can respond to fish and game calls, search and rescue calls. Our dogs back up police departments, state police, local police all the time. So our canines are definitely busy, but it's fun for the handler. That's why they do it. They put in a lot of work, but the reward is the calls that they get and seeing their dog find something or somebody that is missing or lost. So it's pretty fun. Unfortunately now I'm a lieutenant, so I'm not going to be able to get another dog. I just don't have the time with this position. So I'm going to kind of pass the torch to a new guy, Ken St. Pierre, and he'll be our fourth canine handler. But
Nice.
I'm still kind of got my claws in there a little bit and not letting go completely. So I get to help those guys out and train them, but I just don't have my own canine to work with.
And I don't know if the listeners actually realize that sometimes having a canine can get in the way of promotion, because if you have a canine, the investment that the agency puts into that canine and the time, and then utilizing you as a canine handler, sometimes you can put stripes on you and there's no issue. But once you get to that lieutenant, you have all these other things to do, and your canine, and canine is supposed to be right up there proportionately, and probably more so because it's needed everywhere. So you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
that's definitely an issue. The canine, out of all the teams that we have, with a dive team, airboat team, the firearms instructors, in my estimation, the canine guys put in way more time and training than any one of those other specialty teams that we have. So it doesn't leave the time that, they need to do the supervisor type duties because they're so busy with training their canines. Luckily, our Colonel Jordan, was very accommodating to me when I got promoted. I've heard of stories at other agencies where a canine handler gets promoted and he has to give up the dog, which
Mm.
I can't even imagine having to do that when you've put that much time and effort. You're with this dog 24/7, and then you get promoted and they take your dog and give it to somebody else or take it out of service completely. Luckily, I didn't have that issue. That they let me keep Ruby, and I just was able to try and do both. But yeah, there's states where if you have a dog, you're most likely not going to get promoted because again, you have to put so much time and effort into training that dog and working with that dog and responding to calls that it takes you away from the time that you may need if you got promoted to be doing those supervisor type things. We've been able to you know work a mix where we can do it, but like I said, some of those I couldn't even imagine working with a dog for 3-4 years and then you get promoted and you almost get penalized for getting promoted because you're losing your dog. But again, luckily we've been able to work around that and make it work.
Yeah, no, for sure. The Colonel Jordan is certainly a dog lover. Probably not too many people know that what his dog he had was a Pomeranian. So that's that little fuzzy dog. So
Oh
I will
yeah,
say that
decided to,
he had to adopt it. So it was his daughter's
yeah,
originally. He ended up having to take care of it.
yeah.
But just so everybody knows that the Colonel's dog was a Pomeranian. But
I'm sure he'll appreciate you letting people know that.
oh, I know, and I got so many stories about that little Pomeranian that I'm not going to tell, but it had a lot of character and it had a lot of attitude. So, uh, but he does love dogs. He's and that's so important, and to have the top know how valuable dogs are to a division in locating lost people and finding evidence and making that a priority is so important. And yeah, do you remember some of your best cases with like Ruby? And I mean, maybe your first case that just that first find, that first it's got to be
Yeah, I
like
don't.
a shot of adrenaline.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if I remember my first find, but just this spring is my first year without her, and getting called to turkey cases, people shooting from the road or too close to houses, not having a dog. I'm like, this is such a handicap not having my dog to be able to find this stuff that she would find in 2 minutes. Shotgun shells, wads. She would find all that stuff in minutes, and here I am walking around for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and may or may not find what I'm looking for. Um, One of my favorite ones was we tracked a bank robber. We happened to be in the next town over. Some guy went in with a gun, stuck up a bank, took a bunch of money and ran off. The tellers went to the door and saw him run off into the woods. And again, we were like 15 minutes away, so we raced over there and we tracked him through the woods about 300 yards and came to a field where his vehicle was parked. So he was already gone, but based on where he was parked, we were able to find a surveillance video on a business that was near there. And the Rinch Police Department ended up, solving the case and catching this guy and arresting him down in like South Carolina or something for robbing a bank. And the funny thing was, I had pinched this guy the year before for an illegal deer bait. So um, that's actually I've pinched two people that have ended up to go on to rob banks. So
Oh
uh,
man,
start off with fishing game and go to bank robberies, I guess.
I can't say I ever did one. So you're up double digit. That's pretty
Yeah,
impressive. And that's really really cool. I mean, to be able to put that case together, and that's a huge case. I mean, they
yeah.
must
So
have
that
been
was pretty
psyched.
neat. That was right at the beginning when I first got her too. But I mean, she's found dozens and dozens of and made me dozens of cases and other officers' cases finding shells and wads. That's kind of our dogs. That's our bread and butter for the department.
Mm.
They're also trained. They're trained in tracking. They're certified in tracking. They're certified in articles or evidence detection. So anything with human scent, if it's been handled or touched by somebody, they're going to find that and down on it. But we also specifically train with gunpowder. So if they find that again, they'll down on it with it between their paws. And then we also do fish and wildlife detection. So we do fish, venison, and turkey. And when they find that, they'll scratch at it aggressively, trying to get to the source of it. So, yeah, most of our cases were definitely the shell casings, the wads from shotgun shells. But I mean, we've been called to numerous lost people. And one of the things I get to do at the end of the year is I would put together our summary of cases for the year. And so I have all the other canine handlers send me all their cases for the year. So I get to go through each one. They do a brief little write-up, and we put it into, categories: search and rescue, fish and game law enforcement, or other law enforcement agency assist. And it's just, you always feel like you're not getting that many calls until you sit down and tally it up, and you're like, wow, we've made a lot of finds. We've responded to a lot of calls. And, we're being called over 100 times a year, our canines in New Hampshire, for, like I said, search and rescue, fish and game law enforcement, or helping out other agencies. So it's definitely an invaluable tool. The dogs can do so much for you. And we do put a lot of work into it, but we get a lot in return for doing it.
Yeah, no doubt. That's pretty impressive. A lot of work goes into that, and I know we've developed a relationship with the Vermont trainer or the Vermont Canine program. Can you go in? Let's start from the beginning, man. That guy you've selected, a new guy, St. Pierre is going to be coming up, and he's going to get a dog. How's that? Can we go through that process?
Yep. So Mark Hensel was the officer we talked about earlier that started our program. He actually ended up leaving and going to work for state police. So when that happened, we had to find another place to get certified or to have a trainer. So we had taken some classes over at the Vermont Police Academy, and they do things really well over there. They have their own, at the Vermont Police Academy, they have their own canine building. They have bunk rooms for canine handlers and with kennels in the rooms. So they really do it well. And we called them up and said, hey, would we be able to come over there for our training? So in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Police Academy doesn't have a defined standard for canine handlers of their own. They fall back on the federal standard, which is 16 hours a month. We go to Vermont to do our training now. We get the 16 hours a month. But actually, Colonel Jordan has been so supportive of this canine program. He's allowed us to have every Monday dedicated to canine training. So our dogs are getting twice the training that most law enforcement canines are getting. The minimum is 16. We do twice that. We try and get together every single Monday. And so we go through Bobby Ryan, who's the head canine instructor over in Vermont. All agencies go to the same academy, same training. So when we get a new guy like Ken St. Pierre, he was just recently picked to be the next canine handler. When he gets his dog, we're going to start training it kind of in-house with just the New Hampshire Fish and Game guys. And then once he's old enough, he'll go to a tracking school in Vermont. He'll do that for several weeks in Vermont. And then he'll probably get certified in fish and wildlife and articles while he's there doing the tracking school. He'll stay over there at the academy. And then once he finishes that, he comes out of there, he's certified. And then every year we have to pass a certification test again to stay certified. And you have to meet that minimum 16 hours a month. So Ken will be picking out a dog again, hopefully this fall, and then he'll go to Vermont and start the process. And it'll be a lot. It's overwhelming. I remember when I did it, I was, the first couple of weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get into here? I'm screwing everything up. I can't figure this out. And then once I got it, then it was a lot of fun. It was still a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun once you and the dog kind of click and you get it, you know what you're doing, and you know what the dog's telling you. So that's what Ken's got to look forward to.
Yeah, and it's physically demanding too. Those tracks, I mean, they gain in length and gain in length and gain in length, and that then pretty much you're running. You've done over a mile track, right?
Yeah. So now, not having a dog, I'm falling back out of shape. That was the only thing.
Hey, you're going to be a lieutenant. You're running that chair more.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I know. I've been there.
Yeah. So But yeah, our certification track now for these guys is 2 miles through the woods. So just to
Wow.
be certified, they have to do a 2 mile long track that's an hour old. So that's pretty
Awesome.
impressive to follow and go exactly where somebody went an hour ago and follow that person for, for 2 miles. So that's the certification track. Our guys, I'm going to be running them through that certification track on Monday. So hopefully everybody's ready to go.
Yeah, no, that's great. I remember Eric Flouette on his first find too. That kid was so excited. It was
Oh yeah.
crazy. So, um,
After all the work you put in, when you finally find something and everything happens, it's awesome.
hmm, yeah, technical difficulty.
Uh-uh.
Oh, yeah, no, the kid was ecstatic. He was out of this world. He was just so happy. That first find, it was like, the golden egg or something. It was just, finding that lost person, and it was a dementia older person in the woods, and he was just ecstatic. It's just great. It's a big team effort
And they
too.
still, yeah. I mean, we have a canine text that the group text of all the canine handlers, and everybody, whenever they make a find, they're sending pictures, they're sending the track, they're sending it to us because they're excited about it and they're happy that they were successful in their search, and they let the other canine handlers know. Bob and Ruger, I mean, they've been doing it as long as I have, and Bob still gets super excited about it. He just sent me a text the other night that he tracked some guy that had taken off on a dirt bike, and he found where the guy had hidden the helmet and everything. So
Ah,
um,
what a great
it's pretty
scent
cool.
article to a helmet.
Yeah, doesn't get any better than that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. So, no, I'm sure the 4-H kids are going to be excited to hear about what we're going to plan on talking to some of the other handlers and talk about their exploits. And the nice thing is they get to see them on Northwoods Law, which is podcast together with Law. And it's just I think it's inspiring for the 4-H dog kids to train their dogs to the levels, because they're seeing what you guys are doing on TV with them. And now here they are
Yeah,
just trying to do basic obedience and stuff. And then they build up through certain stages and have that competition as well, and have that bond with their dog. So I think it's a pretty awesome way to go about it. And if they want to, currently my son wants to do something with animals. So whether that's a vet, whether that's a trainer, and there's been so much more training opportunities the last few years with, detection dogs for sure, with
mhm.
terrorism up and just all the detection dogs. And I think the quality of the training has jumped up too, because we had to put up our game. So I think, have you seen that as well?
Yeah. I mean, the training has been so narrowed down and made more efficient that everybody's pretty much on the same page now,
Mm,
and the detection dogs, I think, are you know are are the biggest or the most common dog right now. But you also have the apprehension dogs that do the bite work and all that stuff. So
mhm,
um, everything's pretty standardized. There's different types of certifications. We use Vermont. We used to use the United States Police Canine Association. There's a NAPWADA certification, which is North American Police Working Dog Association, I think. Um, so there's different ways of getting certified, but they're all pretty much doing the same thing, same training, because it's just been narrowed down and fine tuned so much that the instructors know what they're doing, and they can get the handlers and the dogs going pretty quickly. Making cases and getting certified pretty quickly.
mm. No,
Uh,
that's great, and I really appreciate all you do in running that K-9 program as a lieutenant. What you and Ruby did as handlers. I know I called you to the north on several occasions because I
yeah,
know the value of a K-9, and have you run through some scenarios and see if we can find the evidence, because that's the most important part of building a case, is finding evidence, and that's what
right.
those dogs do best. And she
And that's
was
what the guys
wicked
want to do.
energetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm sorry, I did cut you
Oh
off,
no,
but
right, yeah, no, and that's what these canine handlers want to do. They want to go to things. They don't want to put in all this time and effort training and then not get any calls. So they they don't mind when they get the call to, travel halfway across the state up to Coos County to help another officer out. And we're getting called by state police major crimes now pretty frequently to find shell casings or firearms. So, it looks good for the department, and the guys enjoy it. They want to be called because they're putting in all this effort. And like you had mentioned earlier on Northwoods Law, I think the K-9s have been probably the most popular part of that TV show. People love watching the dogs work and watching how happy they are when they are working. And
The dogs love to work, don't they?
right, yeah, they're working just to play with you and have fun with you. So that's all they're working for, is that calm, that reward. So it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. That tail's going 90 miles an hour because they know what they get to do as soon as they get this task done. They can play with that Kong. So that's motivation right there.
Right.
No, that's pretty neat. So, yeah, and it's tough when you have any dog to lose a dog, because it's hard family. I mean, and you never having a dog before, it was like your first dog, Ruby. That's even tougher because you've never been through
Yeah.
that. I mean, I've lost several dogs over the year, and man, I cry like a baby every time. So, yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
tough
did.
thing for your family.
It is, yeah. It was tough on everybody. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, because it was pretty unexpected too. I thought she was going to be able to get better. We'd get her on some medication and we'd get it figured out. But it was unexpected. It hurt pretty bad. It was when she comes to work with you. She's with me 24/7. I'm with her
Yeah.
more than my wife and kids. She's at home with me. She's in the truck with me all day long. So it was tough, but.
Mhm.
She was a good dog. But I mean, when they put it out on Facebook and stuff, our department Facebook page, I probably received easily 150 letters from people across the country. Just about every state, I received a piece of mail telling me how much people enjoyed watching Ruby on the show. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Rin Tin Tin getting at that.
Yeah.
I should have said Lassie. No one never even remembers Rin Tin Tin.
Yeah. No, that's too old.
Barely remember Lassie, Scooby Doo.
Yeah, getting closer.
Oh man. Oh well, thanks for taking the time, Bill, and kind of framing the New Hampshire K-9 program, framing what people are seeing on Northwoods Law. We're going to continue and talk with some of the other K-9 campers too, and get a few stories from them. And again, this is for the New Hampshire 4-H dog clubs, but all the 4-H dog clubs across the nation. I hope they tune in and listen to this and watch Northwoods Law. It's awesome to see some of the things that you're learning as a young 4-H dog handler being done professionally on TV and watching these dogs work just like your dog. So, and hopefully they can relate to that. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.